Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Buffalo
Giants.
podcast. All right, Brian, I'll let you lead the way since you're the first segment.
Yeah, so we're gonna start you off with a Keep Four Cup Four. We're gonna go a playoff edition of this one. I think I'm gonna go with the best division in football. So this is gonna be players from all different types of positions. So this one's gonna be a little bit different. I'm just gonna ask you who is your pick of the litter, really, and see who you end up keeping and cutting. There are so many studs on this list that I don't think you're gonna possibly get everyone you want going through it, but we're just going to see how interesting this gets. So we're going to go with NFC West, what I think is the best division in football. Three playoff teams, and so I'm going to start you out with Trey McBride.
He didn't make the playoffs, so I'm going to cut him.
Okay, all right. So we're cutting Trey McBride. The next one up on this list is Matthew Stafford.
He's a Super Bowl MVP. I'll keep him.
Okay, keeping Stafford. Next up on your list is Devontae Adams.
I'm going to cut Devontae Adams only because I think there's better wide receivers, and I know you're not tricking me there.
Fair enough. So far we have kept Matt Stafford, cut Trey McBride, and cut Devontae Adams. The fourth player on this list is Brock Purdy.
I'm going to keep Brock Purdy. He's the GOAT.
There, so keeping Brock Purdy. Giants. Your number 5. Go ahead.
He's the GOAT of the Buffalo Giants quarterback pyramid so far, so we got to keep him.
That is fair. He does hold the top spot of who we rank so far. Your fifth player on the list, George Kittle.
Super important, but I'm going to cut him because I know JSN's going to be on there, and I'm pretty sure Christian McCaffrey's going to be on here.
Fair enough. All right. Well, the sixth player on this list, and you did just say his name, Christian McCaffrey.
Well, I guess I have to keep him based on that logic, eh?
I would assume so. So we are through 6 players. Just to recap, we've got 3 keeps and 3 cuts. We've got on the keep side, Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, and Christian McCaffrey. We have cut Trey McBride, Devontae Adams, and George Kittle. The 7th person on this list is Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Why? I think based on that logic, I have to keep him too, eh?
All right. Well, we are keeping Jackson Smith-Njigba. This means that the 8th player on this list is an automatic cut, and his name is Puka Nacua. Oof.
Oh.
Oof.
Oh, well.
Oof.
Oof. You know what? I got to keep Brock. You got to keep Stafford. You got to keep Christian McCaffrey. He should be on an MVP ballot. I'm not saying he should win, but he should be on there.
Yeah, I mean, this was. Go ahead.
I was done.
I was just gonna say this was obviously a really, really tough one. I knew that you were gonna be keeping some players that and cutting some players that if you saw this 8-player list beforehand and could hand select it, it would probably go different because there are just so many good guys in this division. Holy crap on the offensive side of the ball. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I would have cut Matt for Puka, but got to give our love to Brock Purdy at all points because we're probably the only big supporter of him. Most channels hate him so far. So we're the Brock Purdy guys. Who would have thunk?
Fair enough. Well, that wraps it up for Keep 4 Cup 4. I'm going to turn it over to you, James, and you're going to tell us how many players are better.
So for this week, how many players are better? We're going to, select a player. Me and you are going to go back and forth with numbers, and once we're uncomfortable with that number, whoever it lands on gets to play the game. This week it's going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba, ironically enough. So, Brian, I can name one wide receiver better than JSN.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough. Because I know obviously the one, finished second to him in receiving yards by a smidge.
Clearly, clearly it's Michael Wilson. Duh.
Yeah. This is a tough one because the guys that I normally would want to throw here did not play very well this year, and and we do this by a per year thing. JSN also has the receiving title this year, so this makes it really tough. Hmm.
There's only one player I'd give it to personally.
Yeah. That's why I'm basically like going through and trying to make arguments for other guys that may have had more touchdowns but less yards. But I'm struggling to even come up with that. Yeah. Would you give me? Are we sticking to wide receiver only? Would you give me a tight end if I thought I would take a tight end over him?
It is a receiving option.
Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and say two.
Okay, I'll go with 3.
I am done at three. Done at three. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to say Mr. Puka Nakua. I'm pretty sure he would have won that award if he wasn't hurt a couple games. Amazing what he did.
Yeah,
I'm going
hurt a
with
couple
Trey
games
McBride.
and didn't finish a couple of games too, right? So
I'm going to go with Trey McBride. He literally is the GOAT. Most receptions in the league. Pretty dang close in touchdowns and yards. Being a tight end. Yeah. And then my third option is going to be I'm going to go with Mr. Chase over there. He did a lot for having no quarterback for half a season. And I fully believe if Joe Burrow was healthy, he would have been Mr. Triple Crown again.
that's fair, but we do this by like per game, based on the season. So based on that, Chase also got suspended for a game. So you're already having an uphill battle between not having the receiving yardage and the production. Also, you've got the whole spitting on Jalen Ramsey bit as well, and taking the suspension as a result of that. So yeah, that's a tough one. I certainly believe that Jamar Chase is certainly the better receiver right now. Arguably more talented as well. JSN is still very young, so it's hard for me to sit here and say that he wouldn't ever get to a Jamar Chase level. I just don't think this season I can give you Jamar Chase. Again, the hot headedness. It's not just Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is a big reason why they didn't make the playoffs this year. But they traded for Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco came in and looked competent for them. But those guys just weren't able to figure it out. Some of it was T. Higgins being injured and things like that too. He had a concussion for a couple of weeks in the season as well. So But I expect Jamar Chase to still be doing something close. I didn't expect him to fall off to let's say a Jefferson level with McCarthy. So I put some onus on him. For me, I would not put him in front of JSN this year.
Well, then I will give up because that was the only other person I had in mind. No one else is even remotely close.
Yeah, it's tough when you put the receiving yardage leader up there. It's really tough. Even Trey McBride, I was struggling to find anyone at all, and that's really the only guy I could think of. Probably same along with.
Yeah, that's the only reason I went with 3 because we both agreed on Trey McBride. And as much as we love Michael Wilson here, we're not going to say that his 5-game run is anywhere competent.
It would have been interesting to see if Jacoby Brissett had been the starter from the onset of the season, if he was the week 1 starter. I think Michael Wilson could have had an unbelievable year. I certainly think staying healthy would have been a challenge for him. I think that's been a challenge for him during much of his career to this point. Granted, they haven't been playing a lot of meaningful football late on in the season, so if you're dinged up, no real point in trying to play in some of those games when you're 5-12 and things like that, right? So.
Yep.
Yeah, but moving on, we're going to move on to budget players. So I got 5 quarterbacks for you this week. We're going to stick with that playoff theme. So these are all quarterbacks in the playoff, both AFC and NFC. I tried to pick what I thought were the 5 best ones, or considered the 5 best ones. And so we'll see where you end up ranking these. Your first player on what's that?
No Bryce Young, though.
No, so yeah, no, I'm saying critically acclaimed best 5. So yes, Bryce Young unfortunately will not be on this list. But the first one is Drake May.
Drake May.
Indeed.
Stupid nickname, but I like it. I'm going to go 2 just because he has no experience.
Fair. The second player on your list is Josh Allen.
I'm going to go 4.
Perfect.
Second most experience.
Fantastic. The third player on your list is Matthew Stafford.
I'm going to give him 5. Super Bowl
5.
MVP. Already been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
Fair enough. This fourth player on your list, Brock Purdy.
Highest slot available.
That's going to be 3. And the
Okay.
final player who will occupy your 1 slot is going to be Jalen Hurts.
I don't even care. I don't like him.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about his existence, to be completely honest.
Would you redo that list? Would you re-rank that list if now that you know all 5?
Yeah, I would put Josh in the 3, put Jalen in the 2, or sorry, in the Josh is in the 4, right?
Yep.
I'd put Jalen there, drop Josh above Brock Purdy, just because Jalen Hurts is really a whole different person in the
So you'd
playoffs.
move May down to the 1 slot?
Yeah, just because 0 experience. Everyone else there has been to a Super Bowl besides Josh and him. Unfortunately,
That's why it's so fun for me to watch people get really caught up with these younger quarterbacks, the Trevor Lawrences. Even I am. I'm drinking the Trevor Lawrence Kool-Aid in my playoff predictions. But people love to do that with Drake May, who's this is his first time really on the stage, and it's tough.
he could literally
Especially
just eat shit tomorrow for all we know.
and especially if he starts playing the Houston and Denvers of the world defensively in these huge pressure games, that could really get to him in a way that we haven't seen yet, especially this season. So, but that's going to do it with our budget. James, we're going to go to you for the QB pyramid.
All right, guys, we're back in here. We got QB pyramid. Brian, I have a fun one for you. One of the true loves of your life, Jalen Hurts.
Fantastic.
That is very much sarcasm.
I
Brian's a
was really looking forward to ranking Jalen Hurts. I've got just so many good things to say about him.
Yes,
You know,
clearly your favorite quarterback of all time.
yeah.
All right, are you taking Jalen Hurts over Sam Darnold?
Yes.
Okay. How about Matthew Stafford?
That's a tough one.
That's an easy.
I'm gonna say no on Matt Stafford.
Thank God you had me concerned for a second.
The age is a big thing for me. So
Yeah, but when you're pretty much the MVP favorite, Super Bowl MVP from 2-3 years ago, probably going to the second Super Bowl if things play out the way they should.
hey, Jalen Hurts has won a Super Bowl too, bud.
Yeah, I know. Next, you got Brock Purdy.
Yeah. I think I'm going to put him behind Brock Purdy, and it's really just because of the play this season. Obviously, both accomplished quarterbacks. So I think I've just got to go with the current form, and I'm going to put Jalen Hurts behind Brock Purdy.
All right, the next quarterback on the list is Michael Penix Jr. We already know the answer.
Definitely taking Hurts.
We're going to take him over Tyler Shuck.
100 times out of 100, yeah.
How about Baker Mayfield?
Give me Hurts. Baker did not look good much of the season, so that kind of makes the current form a wash, and Jalen Hurts is more accomplished.
We're taking him over J.J. McCarthy. How about Jordan Love?
Same thing there, just simply more accomplished. Jordan Love also struggled to be healthy this season. Hurts at least played all of the games that the Eagles were willing to try him out for. So,
how about Jared Goofball?
Oh my gosh! I mean, did you see that game on Christmas? I don't think I could take Jared Goff over very many at the moment.
Okay, we are a Jared Goff anti-channel officially. How about Caleb Williams?
That one is tough because Caleb Williams showed a clutch gene this year.
Yep.
A lot. So and he did beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. this
Yep.
year too. So I'm gonna have to, this is one where we're gonna go with current form. We're gonna go with at the time that we're ranking these guys. I'm gonna go with Caleb Williams.
Yes. Okay. How about Jaden / Marcus Mariota?
I've got to go with Hurts only simply because Hurts was healthy this season. He's far better than Mariota, and Jane Daniels just was not. It was a lost season basically for him.
All right. We got 2 left in the NFC. Jackson Dart.
Yeah, personally, I'm happy that I have Dart, and I think he's going to be the better quarterback over the course of his career. I think he can pass the ball significantly better than Jalen Hurts can, especially from a consistency standpoint, which is something that Jalen Hurts is really
Yes,
struggled
sir.
with this year. So but like I said, we're doing this at the time of recording. Jackson Dart took a number of concussions this year, can't really stay healthy. Was one of the big things that he showed in his rookie season, and obviously Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl, so I've got to go Hurts here as much as it hurts me.
And your last quarterback in the NFC, Dakota Rain Prescott.
Yeah, I got to take Hurts here. Dak is obviously a better passer of the ball, but Hurts just gives you so much more versatility on the offense. He gives you things like run pass options and things like that. So, I've got to go with Jalen Hurts there. Also the ability to rush the ball and have quarterback design rushes is certainly a big thing that Jalen Hurts has in his locker that Dak does not. Also, the Super Bowl.
The only thing I need to make sure of, did you say Matthew Stafford over Jalen or Jalen over Matthew?
I did say Matthew Stafford over Jalen Hurts. Just a significantly better passer. The form this season, two completely different stories, right? Stafford putting together, as good of an MVP campaign, an argument as he could have put forth. Jalen Hurts, looking very average at times this season. And really the Eagles getting to where they get to because of their defense and the talent among their offensive guys, not necessarily their ability to click as a team.
All right, so currently Jalen is the 4th best quarterback in the NFC. Let's move over here to the AFC, where we have Bo Nix.
So I'm gonna take Hurts over Nix. I think Nix will turn this season if he's able to win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
But he's too young for me to take him over a guy who's won a Super Bowl. I'm also I'm right on the fence with Nix, man. Like he seems to be the reason why they win when they do win. Aside from their defense, it's like him and their defense.
Right.
But when they lose, that defense gives up points early, and he's not able to bring them back. He looks human in those types of performances. So give me Jalen Hurts there.
The next one on the list is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, this is really tough because I don't. Rodgers has played well this season. Obviously, they are in the playoffs. But has he lit it up like we've known him to do throughout his career? Earlier on, not necessarily. I could argue and hear an argument that a lot of that is due to the guys that he's passing the ball to, and how good their rushing game is, and how well Warren and Gainwell have played this year.
And at the same time, we really can't say their rushing game is that good. They just get a lot of rushing touchdowns. They're 28th in the league in rushing.
This is true. What I will say turns the tables for me in Jalen Hurts' favor, and why I'm going to take Jalen Hurts with this one is that the Pittsburgh Steelers played in one of the weakest divisions in the league this year, and they were only able to muster 9 wins, which if they didn't win that division, would have made them outside of the playoffs. The Eagles actually did take care of business. They did play some very good teams throughout the course of the season. Now, granted, some of them were like the Lions losing it in Philly by going 5 times on 4th down and not getting it, right? So, I'm not going to sit here and argue that the Eagles were fantastic and Jalen Hurts is the reason, right? But ultimately, when the rubber meets the road, the Eagles did it better than the Steelers did this season. I've got to give it to Hurts for that reason.
All right, I'm going to skip the Jets quarterback. Clearly a yes. Yeah. I'm going to skip the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip the Raiders. I'm going to skip the Titans. I'm going to skip the Colts. CJ Stroud?
Definitely hurts.
That's what I thought. We're going to skip the Browns. They're irrelevant. How about Lamar?
I would say Lamar. I just think he's a better thrower of the ball. Certainly the injury concern, the health issues that he had this season are concerning for me. Um,
Right.
but I think the just how much better he is passing the ball. If you put Jalen Hurts on the Ravens, I don't think he's completing those passes to Zay Flowers for that to be such a competitive game against the Steelers, right? So that for me is a big reason why I'm taking Lamar.
All right. How about Jay Herbert?
Really tough. I'm a big Justin Herbert fan. I think that he's been unfortunate to be on some teams that weren't as good around him, and that front office didn't exactly put him in the best position to succeed earlier on in his career. So I don't hold his. I'm not someone who really holds his playoff lack of success against him as much. But again, we're really talking about guys on two totally different planes in terms of what they've achieved in their career. Herbert, for me, was not healthy all season and hasn't played to a top 5 quarterback level all season. He was that for many weeks of this year, or close to it, but not consistently, which would have created a form argument for me. So give me Jalen Hurts here.
Okay. And then your next quarterback is going to be Joe Burrow.
Tough one. I think I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts just because of the versatility and Joe Burrow's lack
And
of durability.
I agree completely. And then I think it's just Patty and Josh. Drake.
So I'm going to take all 3 of those quarterbacks over Jalen Hurts. They're simply just better passers of the ball, and I think they all offer something with their legs. It may not be to the same extent as like always QB design runs for those guys. Especially Drake May. It seems like they have the backfield to be able to take that off of him a bit. And allow him just to more scramble. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes at this stage in his career. He gets most of his rushing yardage from scrambles rather than QB design runs. But they all have that in their locker, but are simply just better passes of the ball. So I'll take Drake May, I'll take Patrick Mahomes, and I'll take Josh Allen over.
All right, so you got him at 8th. Drake May is currently 8th, so we will put him in the 9th spot and move
That's
Herbert
correct.
down to 10 because you decided to take Jalen over Herbert.
Correct.
So congratulations, Mr. Jalen Hurts. You have knocked a player down, and you will sit here in the 9th slot. Hopefully I can knock you down some more in the coming weeks. But yeah, we will get that updated, and we will have that graphic on the video if we can figure out how to put graphics onto the video. And we'll send that over to you.
James, anything else for us before we move on to our review of the games here?
Yeah, if I was in charge of this ranking, I would have taken Herbert over Jalen Hurts. I think Herbert does more with less. I think that Jalen Hurts is still on a super team, although their players have not played well with their new offensive coordinator compared to last year. I have a little less respect for Jalen Hurts because of the team that he's on, where I believe Justin Herbert has closer compared next to nothing. He has a really good running back. He has 2 really good running backs, a decent rookie tight end that we don't know what he's actually going to be, and then he's throwing to 37,000-year-old Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, who we thought was a bust. Where they got Trey Palmer, rookie, right?
No,
is that his
Trey
name?
Harris.
I was combining the former Charger with the new Charger. But yeah, I just don't feel like he has as many weapons as Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has a top 5 wide receiver, top 5 running back, one of the best wide receiver 2s, an accomplished tight end, an amazing offensive line. Justin Herbert's offensive line is Swiss cheese right now. Much better when healthy. Not than the Eagles, but much better in general. But yeah, I think Justin Herbert does more with less than him, so he deserves a little bit more respect. But that's what next season's for.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
if he can show me that he can stay healthy for the entire season, like I said, and be around that QB5 spot in most weeks, then that will probably move the needle for me. But the fact that he had to get hand surgery or wrist surgery during the season, kind of didn't look so hot. For a couple games during that stretch, they dropped some games that they could have certainly used for seeding in that time. So that's just what ultimately, like you said, the Eagles certainly have more talent on offense, certainly more built to win now. But I just think that a guy like Herbert, he has to know that he's going to need to lead his team. That means that he's going to have to be able to run and play smart rather than necessarily be Superman. Josh Allen has like James Cook next to him. Herbert
Yep.
does not necessarily have that. So he's even more of a target on the field, but it's even more important
Yeah.
that he stays healthy, right? So if he can show me that he can find a way to manage that type of load and responsibility, then I think things will change. I do think he's more talented than Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts has accomplished more, and there's not really
No, there's no arguing that.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert can't even win a playoff game.
Yeah.
Even a playoff game where he has a 24-point lead going into halftime.
Fair enough. Well, with that, we're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, we'll jump into the Saturday games: Rams at Panthers at 4:30, and Packers at Bears at 8:00.
All right, so we're going to jump into Rams at Panthers starting at 4:30 Eastern time. We have got some thunderstorms during the first half for sure on the radar. Yet to be seen if it will continue into the second half. As of right now, when we check the weather near your house, we are seeing just for the first half, but the weather changed from last night of being clear and sunny and a little bit of wind, if I remember correctly, to this. So
yeah, it was supposed to rain during the 4:00 hour, so probably like the beginning of the game. But things have shifted a little bit, and it looks like a thunderstorm that we were supposed to get a little bit earlier on in the day is actually going to be coming during the 4 and 5:00 hour. So I expect the first half to be rainy, and who knows, it may get pretty ugly.
Let's hope that we just don't get a delay. That would ruin all of our plans for the day. But let's get into this. Let's get into this matchup a little bit. Obviously, I picked the Panthers to win this game. This goes into my favor with the weather. That can slow down the Rams' passing attack. I don't really believe in Kyron Williams. I believe in Blake Corum, but who knows what they're going to do with the playoffs. But the Rams are averaging first in offensive points per game, first in passing, seventh in rushing yards per game, total yards per game first. Defensively, they're 10th points per game, passing they're 19th, rushing they're 12th, in total they're 17th. Now, looking at the Panthers side of things, offense is 27th in points per game, yards per game 26th, rushing yards per game 19th, total yards per game 27th. The defense it looks mid, but it performs a lot better than these numbers would suggest, in my opinion. Defensive points per game 15th, passing yards per game 15th, rushing yards per game 20th, and then total yards per game 16th. As far as the injury report goes, we got Jordan Whittington, backup slot wide receiver knee. Terrence Ferguson, the third tight end hamstring. Josh Wallace, backup nickel back corner. He's questionable for this game, and then Quentin Lake is now healthy. We got Robert Hunt, biceps, and Chandler Zavala, calf, questionable for the Panthers. And then no Kevin Dotson, starting right guard, ankle for the Rams. So my X factors in this game are going to be Bryce Young and Puka Nacua. And then my fantasy start would be Blake Corum. I think, if anything, he's going to be the best player on the field today for the Rams. I don't like the weather report for the Rams. They're used to playing in a dome. We saw them play in the snow in Philadelphia. They had a rough game. Weather could be a problem. Mr. Matthew Stafford, both teams he's played for in the NFL were dome teams. The player that's used to playing in the weather the most would be Devontae Adams, I would say, for the Rams. He can perform in any kind of weather. So it'll be interesting to see how he looks coming off that hamstring injury. I would believe he would be 100% or very close to. As far as the offense for the Panthers go, it's going to go as far as Bryce Young can take them today. The running game has been ineffective for multiple weeks straight. Chuba Hubbard has fallen off a cliff compared to last year. Rico Dowdle, I mean, he had 10 yards last week. The previous week before, he was in the 20s. It has just been a steady decline since the highest of highs. We're going from 200 yards down to 10 yards in just a matter of 8 weeks. So that doesn't look good. Ted McMillan is going to have to carry the rock with Bryce and hope for the best and hope that defense can be out of their mind good. The corners have a lot of work to do. The defensive line has a lot of work to do with the running backs, especially Blake, like I said. But I'm still going to roll with the Panthers, 21-17, and that's where I'm going.
Fair enough. I see the game a little bit differently. I've got the Rams in this one, and I've actually got them winning this one 27-17. I do think that Matt Stafford is just really has too much for the Carolina defense. They've been able to contend in that division, but when I saw them play against Sam Darnold, they gave up 27 points at home in a very similar matchup. And I think Matt Stafford is an even better quarterback than Sam Darnold. You have Devontae Adams, who's been kept out the last few weeks of the regular season ever since this matchup back a few weeks ago to be fresh and ready. And so, I've got him as my X factor on the Rams in this one. He had 2 touchdowns in the first half before getting hurt. Well, also in the first half in the first matchup earlier on the season, and I think he was on pace for an unbelievable game. I think he could certainly deliver that today, especially in the red zone. He is massive. He is someone who has played in Green Bay for most of his career in adverse weather during this type of the year. So I have a lot of faith in him, to bring this one home for the Rams. On the opposite side of the ball, I've got Bryce Young as my X factor as well. In the games that the Panthers win, these big games against the Rams and the Green Bay Packers away earlier this year, Bryce Young has really been very, very good in those games. More of in a game manager type role. The Russian game was a big component of those wins, being able to control, keep drive alive and maintain time of possession and things like that. They haven't necessarily shown an ability to do that in recent weeks. And so I think, they may have to be more adaptive and use Bryce Young more in screens, quick crossers, things like that to try and simulate what runs would normally give you. That front four for the Rams defense is also quite good and quite young. So and very athletic. So I expect for them to maybe continue to get stuffed in the run game potentially in this one, and for Bryce Young to have to make up for that himself. I think if he doesn't have a massive game, it's going to be very, very difficult for the Panthers to put up more than 20 points in this one. But I do like Ted McMillan in this one as my fantasy start if I would be starting anyone on the Panthers. I think Ted McMillan has consistently shown, even when he doesn't get necessarily the targets, that he can be a home run threat. I watched that game against the Bucks as well, and he had a long reception call back for an offensive pass interference, which I thought was very soft. I think the broadcasters agreed with me on that one. But I've really liked what he's done in his rookie season. To me, he's a wide receiver one, just blooming in front of our very eyes. And then on the Ram side of the ball, I'm going with Matthew Stafford in this one. Obviously someone has to get the ball to Devontae Adams. I think, obviously Matt Stafford is going to be able to do that. I think it may get a lot easier in the second half when things clear up in terms of the rain and the stormy conditions and things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is more of a low-scoring game in the first half and you see a little bit more fireworks in the second. But Matt Stafford, that guy knows how to win. He knows how to win in the playoffs, and he knows how to win in really all situations. He's got Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. He's got Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. who have both shown that they can carry the rock so far this year. Kyron Williams over the past few years. So I like Matt Stafford. I think he will be basically the one to win the game for them. I think that run will just keep the defense honest and allow guys like Puka Nacua, but especially Devontae Adams, to get open in this one. James gave you all of the offensive and defensive stats for each of these teams, so I'm not going to really rehash all of that. I will just say the biggest thing that stands out for me, looking at all of those top to bottom, is how good the Rams defense is against how average the Panthers defense is. Now they play a lot better than that if you watch their games, particularly against the pass. I think their passing yards per game really suffers from Casey Horn having missed a number of games throughout the season. So I do expect for them to show better than that. But the Rams defense is right around the same plane as the Panthers, and the Panthers offense is significantly worse. You're talking about a bottom 10 offense there against a top 5 offense when you look at the comparison there. So that for me is really what signals the big advantage for the Rams in this one, and why I think they will ultimately pull this one out.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, you gotta think though. There's always that one upset that no one sees coming, and I hope that I can just be right.
Yeah, I mean, these games are not played on paper for a reason. We can sit here and look at the stats and say, they signal advantages to one team or the other, but you got to go out and you got to play these games at the time and location that they are. Obviously we talked about the stormy conditions that we expect in the first half. That could shake things up entirely. You don't know if people, maybe pick up some knocks in the first half dealing with those conditions, etc. So, and that can obviously change games entirely as well. So, we will see what happens.
So with the Bears, we got an 8:00 game. Snow flurries started to start the game. We're going to start at 31 degrees and just keep dropping. We both, if I remember correctly, picked the Packers to win this game. Weather means absolutely nothing in this game. Both teams play in extreme weather. Packers even more so, I would say. It's just a little bit colder there and they get a little bit more snow. Obviously, Caleb is from, I believe, Southern California, at least college-wise. I don't know if he was born out that way, but I know he played a lot of ball over the years in warm weather situations. Jordan Love, he's been in Green Bay for 5 years, roughly. I think the experience with him in the playoffs, on top of the rest of this Packers team, that most players that have been there for many years have played in these playoff games. A lot of these Bears players, this is their first time ever playing in the playoffs. Normally I would pick the Bears to win this game, but I have to go with the Green Bay Packers, the experience. I think they're just getting healthy at the right time. Josh Jacobs being back to 100% is going to be a big difference compared to the last game that these guys played against each other, where he only had 4 yards. So Josh Jacobs would be my Green Bay Packers X factor in this game. And then Jordan Love would be my fantasy start for this game. I think he's going to just have all the momentum coming off a week off, coming off this concussion on top of that. So I think he's going to be very locked in. My X factors for the Bears are going to be Caleb Williams. And then I would also go with Caleb Williams as my fantasy start. I know that he's going to give this game 150%. I just think it's going to be a little too little of, not little too effort, but just a little bit short. I'm going with 28-24. I just think it's going to be that razor thin of a game. And if, the Bears were to get an extra turnover, maybe they win this game. Looking at the Packers offense and defense, though, the Packers are 10th in points per game, 17th in passing. You also have to think about that. Jordan Love missed about 3 games in that stretch of this season. Rushing yards per game, Josh Jacobs missed about 2 to 3 games as well. So they're 17th there, 15th. Total yards per game, they're 15th. And then defensively, they're about top 12. Their defense points per game is 11th. Passing would be 11th. rushing yards would be 18th, and then total yards per game is 12th. Then you go over to the Bears side of things. They are 17th in points per game, passing yards per game, they're 10th, rushing yards, they're third, and then total yards per game, they're sixth. The Bears' Achilles heel is going to be this defense in this matchup, though. Total defense per game, 23rd, passing per game, 22nd, rushing 27th, and then total yards per game, 28th. And then, the Packers' biggest weakness right now is they're a little thin at middle linebacker. Quay Walker's the only healthy player. Javon Ballard is questionable. And then Malik Willis, obviously the back quarterback, he's got the right shoulder and hamstring injury. Zach Tom starting right tackle, back and knee. We got back and knee injuries for Warren Brinson. He's the backup right defensive tackle. And then we got Nick Milhine, backup wide linebacker with the pectoral injury, and then Javon Bullard.
Weak side.
And then we got the nickelback. He's got a knee injury. He's questionable. And then we have Braxton Jones, left tackle. Knee would be coming off IR if he played. Kyle Gordon, right side cornerback, groin would be coming off IR as well for the Bears. Devontae Wicks, backup wide receiver 2. He's still in concussion protocol. And then for the Bears, we got Joe Tryon Scaloga, backup.
Tryon Shoyinka, backup left defensive end, yes.
Thank you. He's got a concussion. And then Amen Ogunbagami, backup middle linebacker, concussion. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Better known as CJ Gardner-Johnson, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a concussion. A lot of concussions in this game. Look at that. But yeah, for me, it's going to come down to who has the ball last or who gets the most turnovers. Both defenses cause a lot of turnovers. That's a lot of the way that the Bears have been winning, on top of Caleb Williams being clutch. But like I said, Josh Jacobs being healthy, you got Jordan Love coming off 2 games off. Pretty sure he was hurt early in the second quarter of the last game that he started with that concussion, so he's had plenty of time to heal. You got a healthy Christian Watson. The Bears' pass defense isn't very good as it is. I could see him just getting wide open and burning them for a long touchdown. Some easy points there. The Bears make a lot of mistakes. I don't think they're going to be disciplined enough in this game to win. So, like I said, I'm going with the Packers. Nothing against the Bears. Still love them. Obviously, I want them to win, but I have to use my brain and not my heart. So, congratulations, Packers. You're moving on in my world.
Yeah, I see it largely the same way, James. I have the Packers winning this one 27-23. So I'm thinking maybe like Packers, go on a game-winning drive and get a touchdown late in the fourth or something like that. I just, for me, you read off all of the stats. What sticks out to me is the defense of the Chicago Bears and how weak they are, particularly against the rush. 27th best in the league. They give up to 28th most yards in the league. I think that's really going to hurt them in this one. You mentioned the concussions, and CJ Gardner-Johnson is their starting nickelback corner. So I do think that is going to play a role in this game. I think that's going to open up the passing even more than the 22nd overall ranking would suggest for that Bears defense. So I think that there's just a lot of opportunity for the Packers to hurt the Bears on the offensive side of the ball in this one. If the Bears are going to stay in this game, it's going to be by running the ball with DeAndre Swift and Colin Minogue. That is the weak point of this Packers team, particularly once Micah Parsons is out. And so I say weak, it's 18th overall, so it's still average when you boil down the numbers, but that is statistically their best advantage to try and win this game. So time of possession really going to be, I expect, a big part of their game plan. And running the ball, I would say 25 to 30 times minimum this game. So I do think that that's going to cap Caleb Williams in some respects from a passing opportunity standpoint. But I think the opportunities he'll get will be a lot better. I think that they're going to be playing at play action and stack boxes as a result of focusing on the run in that way. So my X factor in this one, part and parcel to that for the Bears, is Rome Odunze. First game back from missing a handful of games, and he was playing very, very well this season prior to having that injury. Really showing that he was the wide receiver one in a breakout year for him. So I really like for him to remind everyone who he is and that he has not fallen off the face of the earth. On the opposite side of the ball, Jaden Reed is my X factor for the Packers here. I expect Christian Watson to be a significant threat to that Bears pass defense, and I expect Josh Jacobs obviously to do his thing on the ground. But I think a guy like Jaden Reed, if one of those backup wide receivers can have a splash game for them, this could really separate them and make it too difficult for the Bears to exercise that clutch gene that they've been showing in the fourth quarters and overtimes throughout the year. So I think he's going to be healthy for the first time in a long time. He's going to be have some practice under his belt and a chance to ramp up for the playoffs. And he has shown in the past that he's been one of their best wide receivers when healthy. So I think that he'll have a big game. I think that there maybe won't be as much attention on him as there will be on a Christian Watson and trying to stop the run game with Josh Jacobs. For my fantasy starts, I do like Caleb Williams as well in this one. Again, I think that his passing opportunities may be down, but I think that the quality of those opportunities are probably going to be very good. He's got his full set of wide receivers in Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, and Luther Burden all playing in this one, which is not something he's had necessarily every game, particularly late on in the season.
Yep.
With Rome Odunze missing a handful of games, but also Luther Burden getting nicked up at times, and DJ Moore has taken some big hits as well. Finished out one of the games in the hospital during the year as well. So, but I do like Caleb Williams in this one. Obviously, the legs, in addition to those receiving threats. I didn't even mention Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet, but they certainly deserve a shout as well because they are no slouches at their position either. And then on the Packers side of the ball, if I was starting anyone fantasy-wise, it would be Josh Jacobs this week. I really think that Josh Jacobs is going to have 100 yards, at least one touchdown. Wouldn't surprise me if he had two and 100 yards in this one. I just think that they're going to do their absolute best to pound the rock to try and keep the time of possession close, to try and keep the Bears' offense off the field. Because, again, the Bears are so statistically much weaker when the defense is on the field as opposed to when the offense is on the field. If you can limit that, you can really squeeze out their opportunity to breathe and stay in the game. And so I look for LaFleur with his experience in the playoffs. He went into Dallas a couple of years ago and absolutely embarrassed the Cowboys. So he's proved to me that he can do this, that he can game plan for a good opponent on the road before. And so I think that he'll end up doing that again in this one. Yeah, you mentioned that some flurries to start the game. That's probably going to make it even more run focused while that's going on. It should only be that first 8 o'clock hour of the game, so it should clear up, I would say, towards the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter. And I do expect the passing to probably maybe kick off a little bit more at that point in the game. That's how I see the Packers Bears going again. Similar to you, really just a field goal margin. Anything else for you on this game, James?
Just legs. We'll see what happens with Caleb Williams' legs and Jordan Love's legs because they both have the potential to run. A little less for Jordan, but Caleb, obviously, a big part of his game. And we'll see where it ends up. But, in the long run, obviously, I hope to be wrong in this game. But like I said, reality over perception. Packers are the better team, even though the record doesn't show that. And they just have all the experience in the world compared to the Bears. So let's close this out. So do good, be good, go Bills.
Yes, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we will catch you later tonight to preview the Sunday and Monday